This podcast is brought to you by the Prospect Research Institute, where researchers come to learn, innovate, and connect.
I decided I'm going to designate March to be Research Pride Month so that it gives us all in the profession a focus to think about why is our profession important? What do we do that brings value? And to really make people feel really proud about the importance of why we're here and what we do. So that's why I started it.
Welcome to Prospect Research Chat Bites, a podcast by and for prospect research professionals. I'm Jennifer Filla. Today, I'm talking with Helen Brown, president of the Helen Brown Group. Hello, Helen. Thank you for joining me today on Chat Bites.
Thank you for having me.
So I'm wondering if you're willing, it would be great to hear your stories. And by story, I mean, like, how did you find your way into prospect research? And then, of course, what everyone wants to know is what led you to start the very successful Helen Brown Group consultancy?
Wow. Okay. Well, like most people who start in prospect research, prospect development, fundraising itself, I fell into it. And I was, just like everybody else, I think, who falls into prospect research, it became something that I just absolutely loved. And, as I went through my career, I sort of always thought that I would really love to work with a wide variety of organizations. And then I started consulting. I was consulting on the side, working with universities and large membership organizations, mostly in the UK. And it was nights and weekends and holidays. And then September 11th happened. And it really was a time for me to sort of reevaluate what I wanted to do and when I wanted to do it. And I just decided then that it was sort of time for me to do what I had always wanted to do. I was really lucky that I have a spouse that was already an in-demand freelancer, or was a freelancer at the time. And so she was a real role model for me for what being self-employed was like and what was required of that and, all of the stuff that goes along with that. But also she had a steady income, so she could support me in my startup, which is really, really important when you start a consulting company, is to make sure that you've money coming in from somewhere else, or that you've got a money, laid by to get you through those lean times. I also created a kitchen cabinet of people that I trusted in the prospect development community to sort of be my mentors and my advisors. And I was also lucky that a friend of mine was getting an MBA degree, and she needed to create a business plan as part of her program. So that was really helpful that she studied my new company and helped me form a business plan. So I had always known that I wanted to do something different. Instead of being a solo practitioner, I wanted to lead a team that was dedicated to this work. I really wanted to help support organizations in a different way that maybe couldn't afford research or didn't have an internal prospect development department or were never going to, but just wanted to have that kind of relationship with prospect development, but weren't able to have it internally. So, for a long time, HBG, the Helen Brown Group, grew at the pace of about 2 new team members every year. Now there are 20 of us. And I'd like to keep it pretty close to that number now, just so that we can maintain this sense of team that we have. I'm incredibly grateful, especially right now, that we've always been a virtual company and that we work with just really interesting, amazing clients that do work that honestly just blows me away. That's how we got started.
That's a wonderful story. I recall seeing, I don't know if it was a press release or a blog post or an announcement from you that you had started, is it a fundraising insights kind of team within your team? Could you tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. Yeah, we've got a data insight team, and it's essentially fundraising data science, data analytics. We work with our clients doing everything from RFM analyses, which is recency, frequency, monetary value, just sort of basic fundraising data science work, helping clients identify really good prospects within their databases, all the way through to descriptive modeling, predictive modeling, everything that is involved with fundraising analytics. And the reason why we started it was because I really felt like people were a little intimidated by fundraising data science and felt, oh, well, that's really only for large organizations. Like, I could never afford that. You know, it's something that only big organizations can afford or can do. And, you know, I think that some of that gets borne out because a lot of the providers are large companies and they tend to work with large organizations. And we really wanted to create accessible fundraising data science for mid-size and even small organizations who not only want to identify good prospects within their database, but now it's like, okay, now what? Now I need research. And I wasn't seeing anybody who was providing both the data science part of it and then helping them interpret it and say, okay, here are your 15 best prospects. Now let us talk to you about those specific people. Let's provide you with background on those people to the degree that you need it. Not any, I mean, it can be anything from just simple, you know, lines of bio all the way up through full profiles. But we really wanted to marry the data science with the research and prospect management and, you know, due diligence if that's what was needed too. So that's why we started that.
I think that was such a smart move because as we see the wealth inequity, you know, the wealthy get wealthier and the poor get poorer, the same kind of thing is potential for nonprofits as artificial intelligence becomes like the new thing that the big places are doing. I suspect that the analytics that you're doing will have that outsized impact for those smaller nonprofits for a long time to come.
Well, that's exactly it, isn't it? I mean, it's really to make it accessible to especially these small and mid-sized nonprofits that are never probably going to have an internal data science department, and they don't need some, you know, $200,000 job. They really just need to find some great prospects right now, and then they can come back in a year's time and say, okay, now we need another small batch of great prospects.
Speaking of being a consultant, I know a lot of people are thinking about it, and maybe now, especially as remote work is pressed upon us. I know I get a lot of questions myself, and I have to think you've been getting tons of questions for years. Would you be willing to share, like, what's a day in your life like as you lead the Helen Brown Group?
Well, my day is really different now than it was when I started. When I started, I was doing research every day, as well as managing billing and marketing and website and everything. I mean, all that stuff, you know, that stuff too. You know, it's you're doing every single thing. And then as the team grew, I was then also doing all of that plus HR and personnel management, and as well as, you know, the client meetings and client stewardship and then all of that. And then in the mid 2000s, my friend Chris Carney, who's the chairman of Factory in the UK, he and I started another company together called Share Training, which was to do web-based classes. And this was pretty early on, before webinars were sort of everywhere. And he and I were really passionate about making sure that researchers are well trained. We still are. And so then there was all of the marketing and collaboration that went on with that as well. So it was a lot of everything. But now, a day in the life now is now more about everyday management of a company. Most of the time, I'm the first person that a brand new client speaks to when they come in, you know, when they get in touch and they need help. I want to hear what their needs are and help strategize with them and with Maureen, who is our director of research, to figure out how we can really best be helpful to them. I also get to do really fun stuff like keeping up with trends in our industry, talking with vendors and consultants to see what they're doing. Sometimes we find ways to work together to bring even more value to our clients. And sometimes I spot gaps that I think that HBG is sort of well suited to fill, like with our data insight work. My favorite thing is that entrepreneurial part. I really like sort of looking at our industry, spotting gaps, and then thinking about, okay, what new services can I help create that give our clients and the industry more? I think anything that we can do that helps our clients raise more money is a bonus. So that's what I love to do.
Great. And I just have to ask you this question. You mentioned when you first started consulting, it was while you were working and it was the weekends and the holidays. Have you been able to reclaim those weekends and holidays?
Oh yeah, I definitely have now. But that's the nice thing about having a team of 20 is that, I now have the luxury of being able to leave the work behind. I don't leave the worry behind because now I've got 20 families to feed. So, and have to make sure that they're, still well taken care of. And I do spend mental energy thinking about making sure that the team is okay, especially now. And so the worry never goes away, but the actual working on profiles at 2:00 on a Saturday afternoon does go away.
Great. I'm glad to hear that. That's good. Now, our interview today is scheduled to publish in March, which you have christened as Research Pride Month. Would you be willing to tell everybody what that is and why it's important?
Sure. Research Pride Month started because it was late in a February and I was reading yet another article in, I don't know, one of the major press about how colleges employ people to snoop on the alumni and how terrible that is. And, they're going through your trash or, something like that. And then reading people's reaction on Prospect L about being ashamed of prospect research and feeling defeated and downcast and questioning, is this a good profession? Is this something I should be doing or not? And it just made me so angry because prospect research is so important because when we are at our best, we save organizations time, we save money, we provide critical insight that helps nonprofits raise more money with more confidence than they would if we weren't there. And so I decided I'm going to designate March to be Research Pride Month so that it gives us all in the profession a focus to think about why is our profession important? What do we do that brings value? And to really make people feel really proud about the importance of why we're here and what we do. So that's why I started it.
I love it. I think it's fantastic because we are not the villains of the for-profit world. It's amazing the intrusions that happen that we're all just fine with. And yet our profession operates with such a high level of excellence and ethics. And I couldn't agree with you more. I'm so glad you did it. Thank you.
Sure.
Now, before I let you go, I know you're an ambitious woman and you have a lot to offer this world. I'm curious, what is still on your to accomplish list, whether that's professional or personal?
Well, short term, I just want to continue to lead this amazing team of mine and help them keep developing their talent. I'm looking forward to having us move forward into a 2021 that's better than the last year has been. So short term, that's what I want to make sure that we do is together as a team move forward into an economic and political time that I hope will be more positive than the most recent year. In the next year, we're going to be coming out with some new services, and I'm really excited about building them out right now. So watch the space for some new stuff coming out over the next year. I'm also starting to think about planning for the next 2 to 5 years now that we're hopefully moving soon away from this pandemic crisis, and just to see what our clients and nonprofits in general are going to need as we all rebuild this sector. So I'm doing a lot of information gathering and having conversations now with people to hear what their perspectives are. I want to make sure that we're doing our part to help make our industry equitable for all, both in terms of who we hire and who we work with, but also who we suggest, who we include as prospective donors and partners. So for me personally, I'm also doing some personal work in that area to educate myself on inclusion and anti-racism. And I expect that that will also inform our future work at HBG as well.
That's wonderful. I can't wait to see what you do. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome. Thanks for asking me.
That was Helen Brown, president of the Helen Brown Group. She leads one of the few prospect research consulting firms out there, and by far the largest firm dedicated to fundraising research. Helen has enormous experience and perspective on our field, and I should know. I had the distinct pleasure of co-authoring a book with her, Prospect Research for Fundraisers, The Essential Handbook. If you've had your head in the sand and have never read her blog, visit www.helenbrowngroup.com and check out The Intelligent Edge. Hey, if you enjoyed listening to this podcast, you have to come check out the Prospect Research Institute's learning community. It's a membership community with powerful resources, great discussions, and comprehensive courses. Check it out at member.prospectresearchinstitute.org. I'd love to have you join me as a member of the learning community. See you there.